Hi, it's Dwyer. It's January 6, 2025. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, let me preface this because I'm going to make some controversial statements here. I'm not making any statements of fact. I'm just telling you one man's opinion, one gambler's opinion. It impacts how I approach wildcard weekend, right? Understand there's no consensus. I'm not following some playbook. I'm not following some crowd. I'm just going off my own impression because, of course, I'm betting my own money. So, with that said, let's open this up with just a few observations. Right, first, Geno Smith. He's not in the playoffs. Right, folks? Football is a complicated sport where I don't think fans really know fully what's going on. Right? We think we do, but we really know about 5%. Just understand, if you look at Geno Smith's numbers, if you look at his team record, if you look at the fact that he's playing under a young head coach, just understand that while Geno Smith is not considered an elite quarterback, in forums like Pro Football Focus, for example, where I'm a subscriber, right? Good service. I just disagree with them here. Just understand, if you watch Geno Smith, you realize he's an elite arm talent. He is, in my opinion, an elite quarterback. He made, of course, $6 million in incentives the last week of the season, right? Seattle closes the season with 10 wins. Geno Smith closes the season, this is important, around 70% completion percentage. He also hit his yardage mark, which is around 4,200 yards or something like that. Folks, those are great numbers. Just understand, some excellent quarterbacks did not make the playoffs. Let's also talk about an illusion, right? Just be aware of the illusions. The Rams started the year 1-4. Just understand that. 1-4. They now are 10-7. Right? I know they lost the last week of the season, right? Jimmy Garoppolo was out there. But just understand, they won 5 games in a row before this last weekend. Right? We'll talk about their matchup against Minnesota, folks. This weekend's games are going to be played in January. You can't go off of where the Rams were when they were 1-4. They had injuries. People like Puka Nacua weren't playing early, right? So we need to factor in here in my suggested plays for this week where the teams are today, not where they were. In my opinion, the Rams, who have the only Super Bowl winning quarterback playing in the NFC playoffs this year, right? The Rams, who have a Super Bowl winning head coach who's been to more than one Super Bowl, they're dangerous. Okay, now let's talk about another illusion. This one's going to be a little controversial. The Kansas City Chiefs, and make no mistake, Andy Reid, first ballot Hall of Famer. Pat Mahomes, first ballot Hall of Famer. Travis Kelce, first ballot Hall of Famer. But understand, the Chiefs had a problem this weekend. The leading passer in the league, right? He ends the year with the most passing yards in the league. Joe Burrow was the problem, right? The Chiefs weren't playing Joe Burrow, but the Chiefs understood that if they lost their game, the Cincinnati Bengals would be eliminated. Right? Now, I'm not suggesting any malfeasance here. Right? This isn't the kind of thing where, you're thinking it's a Tim Donaghy situation or anything like that. The Chiefs are just interested in one thing: winning a Super Bowl, not placating gamblers. Right? So you have to view their game against Denver as a complete illusion. Right? Understand, I followed the Pac-12 for years. I can tell you unequivocally, in my opinion, Bo Nix is a very good quarterback. Right? Very good quarterback. He's just not this good. Right? The Chiefs, their defensive coordinator, decided to play the most vanilla defenses out there. Right? Understand, I'm not saying Carson Wentz is great, but Carson Wentz is not this bad. Right? Denver needed the game. Denver was motivated. The Chiefs, who know that they lost to Joe Burrow at home in a playoff game in the past. Burrow's one of the few to beat this Chiefs team in Kansas City in a playoff game. Right? Burrow is one of the few to actually represent the AFC in a Super Bowl. Right? Josh Allen hasn't. Lamar Jackson hasn't. Justin Herbert hasn't. Right? And so just understand that KC didn't want any part of the Joe Burrow show. The Bengals red hot at the end of the year. Right? They're another team where you can't judge the Bengals off of September. Right? September matters in terms of the record. Right? You lose in September, you pay the price in December and January. Cincinnati has paid that price. But just understand, Cincinnati, the last month of the season, they were red hot. The leading passer, Joe Burrow, the leading wide receiver in terms of receiving yards, Jamar Chase. Right, folks? It's true, Cincinnati's defense wasn't going to scare anybody. Right? It's also true that Cincinnati could beat you with just their offense. In my opinion, the Chiefs were the equivalent this last weekend of a major league pitcher just throwing fastballs. Hitters figuring out, oh, he's going to throw a fastball. Let me get ready. I don't have to worry about a curve. I don't have to worry about a changeup. I don't have to worry about a screwball. He's going to throw fastballs right down the middle. Let me tee off. Bo Nix teed off. The Broncos aren't this good. Bo Nix, for all the great highlights, right? At one point, he was perfect well into the game. For all of that, Bo Nix is still a rookie. Folks, they might as well have a sign up that says no rookies allowed. It's that time of year. It's the playoffs. Right, so let's just say that KC game, folks, view that as an illusion. KC defensively is much better than that. Bo Nix, as good as he is, right? Denver has a real starter. Right? He's going to be the starter for as long as he stays healthy for at least the next, 7 years at least. But Denver's not what they were this weekend. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about the games. First, I want to highlight a trend here. The first trend I'm going to highlight is my preference for unders this weekend. So let's start with the Chargers against the Texans. Right? Let me just say this. Chargers are on the road. I like the Chargers in the game. I also like the under, even though it's a low over-under. Folks, the Chargers have a dominant defense. It's absolutely dominant. Right? Let me also point out, too, that I know Jim Harbaugh is new in Los Angeles. Right? But understand, Jim Harbaugh has been to a Super Bowl before with the San Francisco 49ers. Right? He didn't win it, but understand he got there. He's been to several NFC championship games. Right? I think the Chargers have an edge. Coaching. Right? Ryans is still a young coach. The Chargers have an edge on defense. Both of these teams have decent defenses. Let me say, Herbert is like Wilt Chamberlain late in his career. Right? They came to Wilt, the dominant scorer, and they said, Wilt, you have Elgin Baylor over here, you have Jerry West over here. You need to pass the ball a little bit more. We want you, the scorer, to focus on rebounding. Right? Wilt, at one point, led the league in assists. That's how, from the center position. Understand, Justin Herbert, the Herbert I knew watching him in college, was a straight-up gunslinger. Right? This is a guy who could put up 30 points on the board in the drop of a hat. Right? This is the guy who you have in a Jared Goff type offense. What they have right now in Detroit, that's a great offense. Right? Jared Goff really has his run of the place. With Jim Harbaugh is telling a Wilt Chamberlain talent, hand the ball off. Right? Don't throw it 30 yards down the field. Hit the guy 7 yards down the field. Let's drain the clock. Just understand, the Chargers are a team you need to watch this playoff season. I think they went on the road over the Texans. I like the under. I like the Chargers in that game. Let's talk about the Ravens. Let's talk about the Steelers. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. Right, folks? I'll be the casino's Huckleberry here. You have two teams from the same division. In other words, they know each other. Right? It's not like they're showing up to the game and they're saying, wow, this Derrick Henry guy really runs hard. No, you already know about Derrick Henry. You already know about Lamar Jackson. You're going to give me 10 points with the Pittsburgh Steelers in a playoff game against a divisional opponent who Mike Tomlin has tormented for years. Right? Tomlin's one of those guys who's a thorn in Lamar Jackson's side, folks. I'll be the casino's Huckleberry here. I know the Steelers have been losing games left and right of late. Every time I look at Steeler D, it looks stout to me. Let's face it, too. You had two plays this last weekend. Right? Russell Wilson has his lead wide receiver open. And Wilson misses him. Then you have the Pat Freiermuth play, where Wilson puts the ball in Freiermuth's hands. This is kind of like the Devontae Smith play when the Eagles played Washington. Right? Freiermuth, great hands, has this pass in his hands, may have thought about what he was going to do after catching the ball. He didn't catch the ball. Steelers lost a heartbreaker this last weekend, but the team was in it until that last pass to Pat. Right? Wilson put it right on Pat's hands. I don't think the Steelers have given up. I don't think the Steelers are intimidated. I'll take the underdog here on the road, the team with the losing streak, because I'm getting 10 points. Let me also say this too. Look, Baltimore does look offensively explosive. Truth be told, I had the under in Baltimore's game against Cleveland this weekend. I didn't make that public here online, but I had the under 42 points. And it ended up going to 45 because the Ravens took over in the fourth quarter. Right? I know the Ravens, high-powered offense. Right? But wow, these defenses are legit, aren't they? I like the under in the Ravens versus Steelers game, and I'm taking the points with the Steelers. It's 10 points right now. I'm taking them. Right? Let me just say, too, the under in the Charger-Houston game is 42.5. Chargers are favored in that game. They're laying 2.5 points. Let's continue. I like Buffalo over Denver. I have a lot of respect for Bo Nix. He's a rookie. That's where I draw the line. Right? Buffalo also has a lot of energy. They've known for weeks that they've won the division. Right? They had really an off week this last week. They're going to come out amped up. This is a hungry team that hasn't won, hasn't been to a recent Super Bowl. Right? I think they're going to be amped up. I think Bo Nix is actually going to see a defense that's doing more than cover 2 and cover 3. I like Buffalo here. Let me just say, the way I'm playing it, though, is by taking the under 47. I don't like the 8.5 point spread. So the way I'm betting it, I expect Buffalo to win. The way I'm betting it is the game under 47 points. This next game scares me. Right? If you ask me to name the best team, the team I think's the best, as I said, this is one man's opinion. If you ask me to name the team who I think is the best in the NFC, this Giant fan would actually say the Philadelphia Eagles. Right? But understand, if you asked me to name the most dangerous teams that aren't highly thought of, that didn't win their divisions, right? Rams won their division. They're dangerous, but they're a division winner. They don't count here. I would name the Green Bay Packers. Folks, I like the Pack more than I like Minnesota. Right? The Pack did not win their division. Understand, the winner of this game, in my world, is going to have legs. I'm staying away from Green Bay at Philly. Right? I don't like the prices. I recognize either team can win the game because Philly's the home team and Philly's rested. I think Philly wins it, but I'm not going to bet on it. Because Love, to me, is an elite quarterback. Because Green Bay just has certain things going for them. I don't know what happened at the end of that beer game. Green Bay gave away that game, in my opinion, right? But sometimes that kick in the pants right before the playoffs does a team good. You might recall last year, the Las Vegas Raiders beat the complacent Chiefs. And somehow the Chiefs emerged from that focused and ready and ended up winning the Super Bowl. Right? So let's just say Green Bay, Philly, I'm staying away. I think highly of both teams. The next game, the Redskins at Tampa. Right, folks? Jaden Daniels is a rookie. I'm rolling with Tampa. You only have to lay 3 here. Right? Let me also point out, too, that I like the under 50.5 points. That's what the over-under is. It's in the 50s in a game involving a rookie quarterback. Right? I like, Todd Bowles, the head coach of Tampa, is a defensive guy, right? Defensive minded head coaches dream about games involving rookie quarterback opponents. I like the under 50.5. I expect Tampa to beat the Commanders. Let me also say this. The Vikings just played for the 1 seed in the NFC. That game had something extremely disturbing, right? The Detroit Lions kept rushing one extra guy. Now, I'm just telling you, there's a whole group of quarterbacks in this league who live for moments like that. Right? You rush one extra guy on Pat Mahomes, and he knows there's somebody open downfield. Say what you want about Aaron Rodgers. Right? Rodgers this year with a sub-500 team had 24 touchdowns and only 10 picks. Right? The elite QBs, Geno Smith, if you're continually sending one extra guy at him, he's going to pick you apart. He's going to look at DK Metcalf. Metcalf's going to look back at him. They're going to know we're going deep here. Right? Sam Darnold isn't that quarterback. Right? Darnold, and I say it at this point in his career, I do feel that Darnold, who's been on the bench, who's been going from team to team, I do feel that Darnold's that guy with a learning curve, right? He's better now than he's been in the past. Maybe in a year or two, he eats up some Detroit-type pass rush where they're sending too many guys at him, where they're hitting him hard play after play. But let's just say Sam Darnold right now isn't Aaron Rodgers. He's not Pat Mahomes. Right now, I know this next statement's going to sound loaded, but folks, Matthew Stafford is. Right? Stafford is a big game quarterback. Right? McVay, Stafford, folks, you're dealing with gasoline there. Right? Not only that, you're catching Minnesota at the right time. These guys went into the Detroit game thinking, hey, this is our opportunity. This is an opponent we know. We're going to show the world that we belong, that everything goes through Minnesota. Now it's 1 week later, and they're going to have to travel from Detroit to L.A. Not only that, they're playing a rested L.A. That wasn't Stafford out there last weekend. That was Jimmy Garoppolo. By the way, excellent quarterback as well, in my opinion. But just understand, Stafford's rested. The Rams are rested. They're experienced. As I mentioned before, Stafford's won a Super Bowl with McVay. Both of them have won a Super Bowl. Folks, I like the Rams here, and I'm getting 1.5 points. What's the casino thinking here? Right? And I'm getting a team that is just 1 game removed from a 5-game winning streak. A team that won the division after a 1-4 start. Sign me up. Rams at home. This game played in January, not September. I like the Rams over the Vikings. Right? And I'm getting 1.5 points there. So that's the way I'm playing this weekend. Let me hear from you in the comment section of this YouTube video. These teams have supporters, right? Much more than fans. Fans hope the team wins, right? You can imagine every weekend this year, I'm a Giants fan. I was hoping the Giants win, right? The question is, was I willing to bet my money on the Giants? Most of the time, no. Right? You have people betting money on some of these teams. Right? Somebody's looking at the Vikings and they're thinking, man, this team was 14-2. right? Somebody's looking at these other teams, and they're saying Houston was in the playoffs last year, right? C.J. Stroud is playing at home this weekend, right? They're thinking things through, right? Other people are thinking to themselves, it's our time now. If Jaden Daniels threw for 5 touchdowns in a regular season game against Philly, and if this Dwyer lunatic is talking up Philly, why shouldn't I believe that Washington wins this weekend? Let me hear your views, especially if they differ from mine, in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.